Fortnite is a very predictable game. I mean, if you see a leaked web slinger item like what happened 2 weeks ago, you probably assume a Spider-Man collab is in the works. Or what about if you saw this in the trailer? You probably think it was Siren Head, right? Well, a lot of people did and turned out to be completely wrong. So let's start off with one theory that got busted, which is the SKYFIRE event aftermath theory. Throughout all of Season 7, Epic Games have been hinting at the imminent destruction of Coral Castle. Leaks even backed it up. They then abducted the place, and we all speculated that the upcoming Operation SKYFIRE event would completely destroy it. I mean, at the time, it was obvious that the mothership was about to explode and raid down on the island. But we didn't know what was gonna happen, except everyone was certain that Coral Castle was doomed, and as we all know, it didn't happen. And it was even worse than we all thought. During the end of SKYFIRE, so many different POIs like Steamy Stacks were completely destroyed, and while we waited for Season 8 to begin, everyone theorized that half the map was going to be devastated by the mothership. Of course, we loaded into Season 8, and nope, all of these POIs are fine. Pretty wild, but it's still not as big of a mystery as the Siren Head one. When Season 8 first dropped, there were a lot of questions, but one of them struck waves throughout the entire Fortnite community, and it blew up everywhere. In the original trailer for the season, there was a mysterious boss that appeared for just a few seconds, and it vaguely looked like Siren Head. I mean, everyone thought this was actually going to be a Siren Head NPC on the map, and yeah, that would have been absolutely awesome, but it was nothing more than a small resemblance. Looks like everyone was freaking out for nothing, because it turned out to be a new enemy called the Caretakers. And when you run into one in game right now, they look nothing like the Siren Head. And I have no idea why they look so similar in the trailers, but maybe Epic switched up the design at the last minute because they now kind of look like Squidward's house on legs. Okay, jokes aside though, another theory the community got wrong was the redacted bunker theory. This was literally the longest running mystery in the entire history of Chapter 2. Since day one, everyone was wondering just what the redacted bunker on the map had inside of it, and season after season, our theories got more and more wild. It started off with us wondering if the 0 point was in there, or whether it was Chaos Agent's secret lair. Eventually, as the seasons went on, our theories evolved, and the community got even more intrigued. I mean, why was this bunker still on the map after 2 whole years, and why was it not open? Did it have Kevin the Cube inside of it? How important was this place gonna be? And then one day during Season 8, Dr. Sloan and her goons opened the doors for good, and it was probably the most anticlimactic thing we've ever seen. We went so wild with our theories that the actual answer was never gonna live up to the community's expectations. Turned out it was just a small imagined order base and is now the current location of Sloan, but that's about it. We were hoping something more comes out of this, but to be honest, 2 years of speculation kind of set us up to be disappointed there. We can't blame Epic. But something that was pretty weird was the HELICARRIER vault theory. This time we rewind a bit all the way back to Season 4, the Marvel season. It blew us all away. I don't think any of us were expecting it to be that huge and that awesome, and one of the coolest things in this entire season was the HELICARRIER starter island. It was amazing to stand on a one-to-one recreation of the ship, but there was one thing on the HELICARRIER that attracted us: a working vault standing there plain as day with a missing keycard. Now we all assumed that this meant the HELICARRIER would eventually become a POI in the future, or this vault would actually open later in the season. So we waited and then waited some more, and then the season ended. The vault was completely ignored, so that was definitely weird. You could probably explain this one as Epic just reusing assets or something like that, but you can't really explain the Peter Griffin theory. Okay, this was one of the biggest things that has happened in Fortnite's community in a while. If you don't know the story, back in February of 2021, leakers were just minding their own business, poking around in the Fortnite files when they found an encrypted backbling with no skin or set. And they weren't even able to view the backbling itself, but instead they found this: a texture which showed various famous scenes from Family Guy, like Peter hurting his knee, fighting the giant chicken, or dancing to Bird is the Word. All of these were on here, and they even edited out the blood from the original scenes, and so at this point, it seemed practically confirmed that it meant a Family Guy crossover was in the works. And at the time, an encrypted skin in the files was also out that had no set, and we knew nothing about it except that it was the first ever extra large skin. I mean, come on, Peter Griffin is pretty extra large if you ask me. But it turns out all of this was for nothing. The community's Family Guy theory was actually completely wrong, because it turned out the extra large skin eventually belonged to Thanos. And you're probably wondering about the Family Guy scenes in the files. Well, it's possible that it was just Epic trolling leakers. I mean, they really kind of got us with that one. Which reminds me of the Polar Peak monster theory. In Chapter 1, some of the best parts about the live events were the build-ups, and the final showdown arguably had one of the best build-ups to date. Over at Polar Peak, the iceberg was thawing, and inside of it, a scary-looking creature could be seen, but we could only look at its side, nothing else. And so with nothing else to go on, the community assumed that this might actually be an upcoming Godzilla crossover. Now you have to understand, the upcoming Godzilla King of the Monsters film was just weeks away from releasing, and there was other way more convincing evidence. In the film, one of the monsters is found after being frozen in ice, and there's another one who emerges from a volcano. Both of these were on the island at the time. But the biggest piece of evidence that really fueled the theory was an in-game audio file for the Polar Peak monster, which sounded like this. If you compare this at the time to the sounds of the creatures from King of the Monsters, it was super similar. But obviously, I'm explaining all of this when in reality, we all know that the final showdown was not between Godzilla and the robot, but an original, even scarier looking monster. I mean, literally everyone believed this. Even us at Top 5 Gaming thought this one was true, but nowhere near as disappointing as Fortnite Mobile's return. I mean, this wasn't even an innocent storyline or Fortnite theory. This was something we were praying would happen. After Epic vs. Apple's court case ended, it seemed like that was it. Epic kinda lost, but Apple said that if Epic complied with their terms of service, they'd be allowed on the App Store again. I mean, Apple literally said that, and the community just assumed that once everything was over, we'd have Fortnite iOS back. But for some reason, when the court case actually ended, Epic began to ask Apple if they could bring Fortnite back to iOS, and Apple just didn't respond. Days went on to pass, and the community kept asking Tim Sweeney if he had heard anything, and well, he didn't. And that's when the bad news hit. Fortnite on mobile was banned for up to 5 years while Epic appeals the court decisions and everything like that. Can't feel a slap in the face as hard as that one. We were all praying that this theory would be true, but it was the exact opposite, and it sucks. Something we definitely should have seen coming though was the Oro calendar theory. Alright, I think us at Top 5 Gaming believe this one more than anyone in the community. We were all super invested in the Oro calendar theory. Basically, in Season 2, the shark had a secret cell that had a hole bust open in the wall. And inside of this cell, you could find a calendar. People online figured out that the dates on this calendar aligned exactly with the release of Oro in the item shop. It seemed like this was the perfect reveal that Oro was actually the person inside of the cell and that he broke out. And we actually believed this theory for over a year. That is until one day an Epic Games employee casually posted to ArtStation that they were responsible for the actual design of the entire shark POI. And in this post, they just so happened to reveal that their baby daughter was born when they were working on the shark. So they added a wall painting inside the cells that hints to her birthday, but that people, aka us, tried to guess all sorts of things about it and was quite funny. Very funny indeed, Mr. Epic Games employee. All of us were really thinking this was true, but it was just an adorable tribute to the artist's daughter. You could already bet we felt dumb after this one was revealed. And speaking of creators shutting down our theories, we have the FNAF collab. During Season 5, YouTube, Twitter, everything was going rampant speculating about who could be the next collab skin. And you gotta admit, it was actually so fun to try to do some detective work and figure out who was about to drop. And so one of these mystery crossovers sent the community into literal flames. It was a skin code named French Fry, and people assumed that because French Fry was FF, it could be Freddy Fazbear. But that was just the beginning. The actual footsteps for the apparent French Fry skin were also in the files, and they sounded exactly like the footsteps you could hear when Foxy runs down the hallway in the games. Like, it was exact. Well, obviously not exact enough, because just after the community got wind of this theory and YouTube was filled to the brim in Five Nights at Freddy's clickbait, the creator of FNAF himself, Scott Cawthorne, shut everything down. On Reddit, he posted that there will be no collabs for now, including Fortnite or Fall Guys. So there you have it, clear as day, debunked. And yet we were all really confused about the Rick and Morty theory. Earlier in Season 7, we had Rick and Morty as skins in the game, but there were hints from Epic themselves that even more were around the corner. Keen-eyed players found props in the underground base of Corny Complex that indicated Epic were about to release new skins. There were teases for both a summer skin and even Mr. Nimbus from Rick and Morty Season 5. And then, nothing happened. We all thought for sure that there was more to come, especially because they dropped Morty and a Get Swifty emote in the middle of the season, but that was about it. And I guess we were all really wrong about the Marvel vs. DC Season 5. Because Season 4 was a huge Marvel season, and the fact that Epic were starting to tease the release of a ton of DC skins in Season 5 like Batman, Joker, Poison Ivy, and more, everyone began speculating that Season 5 would actually go from a Marvel season to a DC one. Like, we actually entertained the idea that Marvel and DC will be crossing over in Season 5, and technically we did get a ton of Marvel and DC content in that season, but no, nothing like the Avengers Tower being the authority. Never happened. This theory was completely abandoned quicker than it was made. And something that is still somehow alive and kicking today, though, is the Chapter 1 map returning theory. Every single season for the last 2 years, everyone's been speculating that we'll eventually see the return of the Chapter 1 map. And the rumors got to the highest point they had ever been after the Astronomical event, when they kept referencing the Chapter 1 map over and over again. I mean, people really thought that the OG map was going to return, and of course, it never did. I mean, it's still possible that 5 years from now, Epic could bring it back, but it's safe to say that if you still believe we're seeing the Chapter 1 island in the next few seasons, you might want to avoid getting your hopes up. Especially if you want a SAMUS collab. I mean, we can't even blame anyone who speculated that SAMUS was coming to Fortnite, because she actually was. It's one of the only theories on this list that was actually gonna come true, except it didn't. You see, she was teased in the Batman Fortnite comics in the background, and you can spot SAMUS in the leaked Season 5 court documents during the Epic vs. Apple trial. All of this made us believe she was actually about to arrive on the island, but then it never happened. But hey, it wasn't as disappointing as Tilted's return. At this point, putting Samus in your comics and Family Guy in the files is one thing. When it comes to OG Tilted Towers, Epic have been trolling us on an entirely different level. Since Chapter 2 began, Epic has been hinting at the return of OG Tilted for years, and it's got to the point where they literally featured it in the Season 7 cover art and even in a promo image for the late game LTM. In this same image, they revealed the Renegade Raider Skull Trooper skin that wasn't even out yet, and in the background, boom, OG Tilted. So where is this thing? Well, on the Chapter 2 map, that's for sure. And neither is the SHREK collab. Okay, one of the coolest and also most hilarious Easter eggs on the Chapter 2 island right now is the SHREK secret. There's an outhouse on the map with a crescent moon on the door, and this is an obvious Easter egg referencing the exact outhouse from Shrek Swamp in the movies. Obviously, it's just a neat reference, but some parts of the community took this as confirmation of a SHREK collab being imminent. There's clickbait out there and everything of upcoming SHREK skins or events, and it is hilarious. And that's it for our theories that everyone got wrong. Thanks so much for watching. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.